Okay.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I can start it. It's fine.
I don't mind.
All right. So it's March 7th, facilities meeting. All right.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We have Robin and myself representing the board. Joe is here, Jim is here, Neil is here for the first time, and Frank.
All right. So let's get started. On the agenda, we can jump around a little bit, but I have introduction conversation with Neil. I figured it would be a good opportunity for him just to share a little bit about his background so you are kind of aware of Neil's expertise and what he brings. I know I shared his resume and things with the board as well, but yeah. But I figured it'd be good. Also, I figured it might be nice for him to hear from your perspective as a board of what the board's priorities are, kind of focus for our facilities and what you want to see. Because he's heard it from me and Joe and Jim, but he hasn't heard it from the board.
Okay.
Go ahead, Neil. You go first.
So I've come from over 13 years of experience in schools. I started with Niskayuna. I was there for almost 10 years, mostly in the grounds crew, but I was brought inside for construction and other events going on, especially in the wintertime. Also was in charge of the pool there for 9 years. And then I left there, went to Bethlehem, was the ground supervisor over there for 3.5 years before starting here. We did whatever was needed. So I'm very familiar inside and out of buildings and everything that happens on school grounds.
I guess I can go as a board member. I should have looked at the agenda before I came, so I was more prepared, but in general, I think, the community likes to see things they can be proud of, right? Whether that's the grounds or the buildings. They want to see things be safe as possible, accessible, although sometimes those don't go hand in hand. Yeah, I guess just in general that. And it's very helpful to have someone in your position to oversee it all and manage it all. For a little bit, we went without, and that was very hard on people at this table when they have other things to be doing. So it's very, very helpful to have someone in your position to manage that role, to help everyone else out. Do you have anything you could add?
The same thing, especially that it's been in several different school districts. You've got to see sort
Yeah,
of a variety.
which would be helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
I started with Niskayuna right in the middle of a large bond project, and then when I switched over to Bethlehem, they were also in the middle of a bond project.
Oh, goodness.
So I came over here again, starting a bond project. So
Perfect timing.
We talked about, Neil also brings, and he was kind of downplaying it a little bit, the facilities and grounds at Bethlehem under Neil's supervision were impeccable. So, and if there's one complaint that we've received over the years, it has been our grounds, right? I mean, it's something that we've talked about here, and it's been a growth over the past few years of like making sure our fields are where they need to be and going forward. And that's still, I think, a priority is making sure that we have strong green athletic fields. I don't know how you feel about grass. You were on a sod farm. Neil was, started as a sod farmer.
So I've got over 20 years of athletic turf experience.
So, getting safe playing fields, that are manageable and upkept, I think is something that, Neil's kind of been saying that we can get to and move forward on too. So that's a priority that we've been looking at. And a priority that Neil's been already focusing in on is just our deferred maintenance, right? Making sure that we know and keeping up on it and doing different things. And along with that, we've already looked at a new program for us to be able to kind of streamline our use of facilities, our deferred maintenance issues, making sure that we have historical knowledge when our maintenance people do leave, because we have maintenance members who all are at 30 years or more. So they're all getting to the point where retirements may be coming down the road in the next few years. So getting that historical knowledge and upkeep is going to be important. So why don't we move right on to the update from Neil, and why don't you take over?
So the one program he's talking about for as far as facility use requests would be Master Library program called Schedules, which basically instead of having a paper sheet, you fill out all your information and email it back in. This will all be online, all cloud-based. 250 schools in New York are currently using this program. Duanesburg being one of them. I reached out to their director of facilities this morning, but he never got back to me. So you can customize your sheet, whatever basically how we have it now, we can duplicate that. So all the required fields can get filled in and make sure it's up to date. It just basically clicks the buttons so they don't skip any steps, and you get all the information you need. They can upload a copy of their insurance forms right into the program, so you have that on file as well. So basically overall, it would improve efficiency, how everything comes in, and then when they do submit it, it goes to who needs to see it, and then it automatically generates a work order for custodial staff or tech. Like last night, we had the board meeting. If that was on the calendar, it would send an email saying we need this many tables and chairs. Tech, we need microphone or the owl set up for that, and then everybody gets that when they need to do it. And also, as far as payments go, it generates an invoice right in from there. And if somebody hasn't paid in their invoice, it keeps track of that, saying if somebody tries to schedule another event, you can say, no, you can't do that until this invoice is paid. And it does work with school bucks, which we already use. Not school bucks, yeah. Yeah.
And you can put the board facility policy, basically you can program that policy into this program. So it basically has streamlined the whole system, and it allows for people to sign up. It can be a forward-facing and back-facing calendar. So the forward-facing calendar can be for people to see what's available. And as they put in like, oh, I want to use the auditorium on August 12th. Well, guess what? If that's booked already, it won't even show. So it allows for ease of use, and we can block out certain days or certain rooms. So, you know, some of the issues been, you know, with some, like, let's say continuing education, right? We got to the point where Joe might not be able to do some of the facilities things he needs to do with kids because people already want to book those rooms. So we can block out very specific areas that say, nope, this is it. Here's the only areas that we can use for our community use at the moment, because we need the other rooms for our kids and our program. So it allows a lot more flexibility for the district. And then having it, you know, we currently use School Dude. This is actually cheaper than that, which is a positive thing. We're actually saving money by going here in comparison, because School Dude actually was more expensive. So we're actually saving time, saving man hours, and saving money. So all three very positive things. And
you like this program better?
this program is 1,000 times better. Well, the number one thing right now is, and I'll be polite about it, and Joe can agree, and Jim can agree, and Neil's new, so he can't, because he hasn't seen it yet. Our current use of facilities, protocols, and use how we do it in-house doesn't work well.
Right.
It's not streamlined, it's not good communication, things get missed very easily. There's no way for people to truly understand what the calendar looks like. It just doesn't function as well as it should, and it shouldn't be forward-facing, right? We shouldn't have on the calendar that the middle school plays using the auditorium between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday for the next 2 months, right? We don't need community to know that, right? We shouldn't let people know that the kids are in the building from 3 to 5. There's no reason for the community to know that. You know, parents can know that, and they'll be told by the advisor, but the community should know when, you know, it's being booked. So if I want to use the auditorium, even though I can't see it, it won't allow me to book that because we've already booked it on the back end. So it really does clean up all of that issue that we're having, and I'm trying to be polite about it. Joe and Jim, is there any kind of light you want to shed on?
No,
Like I
they
said,
were very polite about it.
yeah, it's not a system that works very well, and we're trying to fix that system.
And it also works with the current program you use for scheduling games. So all of that would roll right into there as well. So CYO or soccer wants to book the gym and you already have a practice or game in there that's closed off, so they can't do it.
So it communicates all of our programs into one. And the other thing it does is it allows for Neil to put the maintenance programs into it, correct?
Yes. So regular preventive maintenance, like filter changes, I get an email every 6 months for HVAC systems, especially during COVID, doing filters and everything else. I have to stay on top of that, and you can't just go by, oh yeah, I think we did it in February, so it's got to be done in June this time. This time generates an email, will automatically do the work order, send it when needed to be done. Along with vehicles, it keeps track of all that, maintenance on them. You can keep track of a list of everything that has been done with the vehicle. So like all the grounds equipment, so it's getting older, see how much it's costing to maintain this piece of equipment, and if it's starting to move in the direction of replacement. So all that which School Dude currently doesn't do. So
And have you used this at a different district?
I have not used this program yet, no.
So we started looking at this program a couple months ago. Sean and I started, looking at it, and we've talked about it as a cabinet because we see
Need to
use
do
of
something.
facilities. There's a weakness that we're trying to fix. So we started kind of looking at different programs and different options. And there was the R School program that was utilized in the past, but that was all forward facing and it didn't have the ability for online programming or the ability to easily track everything. So like when we need the certificate of insurance, we don't have to have a person calling. It does it here and it won't process until you get that certificate of insurance. So again, it controls that situation. So it takes away that human aspect where we're losing time and man hours and it puts it into it. So we were already looking into that. Neil came in and we looked at it and then we started looking at the other program that went along with it. And that's when Neil kind of had us look into School Dude and realize that we were losing money if we didn't switch over.
Nice.
So,
And School Dude, I have used at Bethlehem, and I know it is kind of clunky. So this is cheaper and has more features to it that will be better utilized.
and the work order for tech is huge because right now, we're doing this for someone here. This is for you. Well, let's make sure you get this one. And you know what? Not everybody
Too
gets
hard
it.
to track.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited that this is going to be a better program. Neil's working out a communication plan, a rollout plan. So he's going to make sure that, everything gets kind of smoothed out and developed in the program.
So,
But it's cost savings and man-hour savings. So.
no brainer.
Sounds very good so far.
Yeah, so no, we're knocking on wood.
Assuming our systems can handle it, right?
Yep, hopefully. So,
Excellent.
any other questions on that one?
Does it need to interface when you said invoicing, or there's only a few invoices you have to worry?
It's not all of them. It's,
That's, one question, but it would be something about,
Be
Um,
manageable?
it would get to me and I'd look it over and say, oh, they chose group 3, but they're actually group 4, and I'd adjust it. So, it's fine, it would work.
we tried looking at building this in-house and wow, it was so complicated. So, yeah, so this is actually a much better option. Other updates, yeah.
It's a radon that we're working with BOCES right now. We should be deploying canisters for more testing probably within the next month or so. Just got some details we still have to work out there. Everything that did read high, we're gonna be doing some short-term testing, which is just for 2 days. And then bigger areas that were even higher, we're gonna do 90 days. And they suggested covering part of the heating season and part of the cooling season. That's why we're waiting until mid-March, end of March to put them out. So we're covering the last bit of the heat and then into the cooling season as well to get an accurate reading.
And then next year, whatever they find in mitigation issues that need to happen, we have that budgeted through the year for the money that we're looking at. So that will be something that we can take care of and be able to address any situations that come up. This is, again, if you don't remember, we did talk about radon a while ago, and then unfortunately it didn't get addressed in a timely manner. So we're coming back to revisiting it as we were supposed to, and then seeing where we need to stand and comparing the two results and see and go from there.
And as far as lead goes, they actually dropped the requirement from 15 parts per billion down to 5 parts per billion, which we still didn't have any drinking receptacles above the limit. Everything was still good there.
Wait, I want to hear that one more time. So all of our potable water, all our drinking receptacles were all
Below 5.
that's awesome.
All drinking and kitchen were all below 5.
That's great. Actually,
So as long as we have the signs up on everything
Yeah, I was
else.
gonna say,
Yeah,
for a
we're
while,
good.
we were switching ones.
Yeah.
Even, we had signs up.
when we are replacing the ones in the bathroom, correct?
Oh,
Are
that's
we
what it
looking
was.
at?
There's a few of them, I believe, that are scheduled to be replaced. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's what it was, right? The
Yeah,
bathroom
yeah,
ones.
the bathrooms, because we can't guarantee that we can
Right.
supervise somebody not drinking that
Right.
water.
We do have the signs up in the bathrooms, but
Yeah.
kids will be kids, and they want to drink out of the fountain, they will, or sink they will.
Even then, I mean, it does take a lot of water
Yeah,
with lead before.
but I just remember, I lived in the community when the first lead testing came out.
It was
We were-
alarming,
Right, it was. I
Yeah.
remember as a parent going, "Oh, what's going on?"
even though when you educated yourself personally, I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Yeah, because I remember I actually came to a couple of the forums here as a parent and going, all right, I understand this better.
Yeah, you don't have to live in it.
Yep. So, but I think this is,
It's still better to do.
but I feel pretty confident that, and pretty happy that as a district, we were already prepared for that. Anything else?
I think we figured out what is causing that leak in the hallway by the cafeteria. I was talking to Peter from Tramco. He sent over some pictures and we went up there the other day. And the middle school gym doesn't have any actual roof drains on it. So all the water as the snow melts and heavy rain is running to the lowest point of the gym, which happens to be that one wall. You can see the stains on the wall from it running straight down the side, and the caulk is failing. And then it's going right in between the flashing and the wall, right onto the sheets of metal roof decking. And that's got to be where a seam is, and that's why it's leaking right down into the hallway there. So that's our why. Next step would be fixing it. So short term, I'm going to get some sort of water deflection so it's not running straight down the wall, and re-caulk the seam. That'll be a short term, hopefully fix it so it's no longer coming into the school. And then long term, we're going to have to get up there and replace some brick and remortar some stuff and then redo that section of roof. But short term, I think we can get that problem solved.
But we actually now have a solution.
I didn't mean to laugh, it's just beneficial.
I already
I was
told them.
laughing at you, Neil.
I've heard.
Listen,
I've heard it's been an
I
ongoing
know.
issue.
It won't be the same without that focus.
I know.
Listen, I told Neil, I go, look, if you can fix that leak within the next first 2 months of you working here,
Right.
you're golden forever, because it's been an issue. So doors, you want to give an update on doors too? Because I know that was another thing that you.
So yes, Bill actually ordered several doors before he left, and they had a lead time of 18 to 20 weeks on them. Just 2 large stage doors, 12-footers. They should be here within the next month or so. And the other doors, the rep said that they are in, just waiting on a couple parts, and then the contractor will reach out as far as when they want to come by and actually get them installed. So there's the conference room door, chemical storage door, and one of them on the middle school cafeteria.
And the 2 big pack doors too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the stage doors.
Stage doors.
Yeah.
You said so.
So that would be the biggest update so far.
Any other questions for Neil?
I don't think so. Catherine,
No, I don't think so.
glad you're here.
Thank you.
Sounds very good so far. I like
Yeah.
it.
Thank you very much.
Joe, you want to give us an update on the last facility use request that we had, and we also have some new ones that Jim will talk about too. So
You're talking about the lacrosse.
the lacrosse ones, yeah.
So the lacrosse program, youth lacrosse program has grown tremendously, and traditionally they share the elementary fields and utilize the town park, but their program's grown enough where they're looking for additional space. The space that they requested was the satellite field. And a good chunk of their season corresponds with our spring sports season and the New Scotland soccer season. So there's been some and the community-based programs occur evenings and weekends, so they don't conflict with our programs. But it would create a lot of traffic at that facility. My feeling is it's a community program that feeds into our program. I would like to try and support it, but it's gonna take a decent level of coordination between the groups. And, Neil and I wanna sit down soon to go over the specific request, because we are, moving some baseball back across the street that we haven't had in the last couple of years. So it's gonna be a heavy lift to make it work. And you know, it would take a lot of coordination between the programs, but they feel they can make it work. But it, you know, it's something important, and I think this committee should, you know, if you have questions or input.
When you say they feel they can make it work, the two groups or lacrosse,
The
they can make it
soccer
work?
club has a contract,
Right.
which essentially, I
They,
don't want to say they own the space, but
They
they
do.
sort of the way it's worded, they have exclusive use to it.
right, which I remember
So
discussing over
They
there.
are, the soccer clubs, support is important here. Like, so if we're in agreement, we want to try and make it work. I've spoken to both of the groups about setting up a meeting where we sit down and we put some structures and a plan in place and actually see if we can make it work.
Did the lacrosse ask for the elementary school as well? Am I missing?
No, that's one in here, I think.
For some reason, I feel like they did. and I
New
don't see
Scotland,
that.
Kiwanis, youth baseball.
But they never asked for the elementary. I thought they did as well. I'm missing.
I don't remember that. I don't have it.
So
in front of me.
do you know if they did?
They're looking to not use the elementary school.
At all?
But they have in the past, right?
They've shared
Right.
with Kiwanis in the past, and they actually, you know, I would say they did a good job of both groups coordinating and working together to make it work.
Mhm.
You know, it'd be the same type of dynamic between these two groups across the street.
Joe.
I know specifically what they've requested. I don't know if we can accommodate every piece that they requested, but I think we can accommodate a good chunk of it.
My question is gonna be is, if we have four, like, how many lacrosse are we gonna have? Maybe 4 or 3?
We're planning on 4.
So 4 lacrosse teams and adding baseball over there. So the demands of that field are already gonna be more than what we've had in the past. So I'm wondering, and the demands on maintenance for upkeep of those fields, preparing those fields, our fields for our games and our usages, and then preparing it for Wisconsin soccer. You know, I'm wondering just what the feasibility is then. What does that look like for lacrosse over there? And also, can lacrosse use the elementary school? I mean, we might have to compromise and use 2 different fields because it just seems like the demand is going to be very high.
And they're not necessarily requesting the same exact, like the soccer fields. Part of it is those fields, but part of it is smaller fields for different age groups in different locations. So they're asking for a lot, and, you know, they would like it to be part of our lining schedule. And I don't know that we can accommodate that part of it. That's something that you and I have to
That
hash
would be the
out.
tougher part.
Yeah.
And we discussed at this committee that groups are gonna have to take that over, or at least the cost of it at the very minimum.
Right, because if we're gonna start spending hours and hours of lining, then we should be having them pay for the man hours.
We have that on our policy list of things to
Not to
get
mention
through.
paint.
Yeah, it is on there. Is the paint really expensive?
Yeah, it is.
And if you have overlapping fields between lacrosse and soccer, you gotta do different colors, and colored paint costs almost a good amount more than just regular
Yeah.
white paint.
Well, I think that's gonna, see, and I think that's why having this conversation, when they meet, maybe having Neil involved as well.
Yeah.
We bought dye. We have different colored dyes to dye the paint. That's what we've been doing.
With the robot, because you have to mix it up anyway, the dyes work better than,
But maybe
They
some of
normally
these smaller fields might be better off just not programming the robot and just having robot going and somebody then painting lines at the same time. You can organize that. I shouldn't say that because I have no idea.
Can you remind us what calendar months they're looking for?
April, May, June,
April, May, June?
Yeah.
And soccer is April.
April, May, June.
They even go into the summer, right?
They usually do, they usually have a clinic that they run in the summer, and pretty much have something going year round in some,
At least into July, right?
in some
A little bit.
fashion, yeah.
Any other questions on that?
So you don't need anything for us at this point, you're just updating us that the groups are gonna try to work together.
I think we need to look at that eventually when we get to that policy.
Probably be worth it
Well,
to have that meeting and then report back to us.
Yeah, I think that
Well, we're gonna have to make a contract with them across. Because we have a contract for New Scotland. So I think, having at least an understanding of what, the needs are and expectations are across the board isn't a bad thing. And then I think we also have to make a decision at some point in this committee is how far out do we agree to things,
right,
right? Because I know we've talked about it, but it's definitely getting to the point where everybody wants usages of the facility. So I don't think we can say, all right, you're gonna book something out for a year. I just don't think it's fair.
we'll have to try to come up with a strategy how to accommodate
Yeah,
all the groups. Like, obviously, we can't do it fully, like we just said, so
Right.
what could we do that seems equitable and fair to each group?
yeah.
Maybe that goes to policy and we put in there like,
I
no time for,
don't
I
know,
don't know
yeah,
the
because it's
answer.
not fair to pick one over the other,
Right,
right?
and you can't have somebody be the first one to sign up, so all right, they get it,
Yeah.
but either, right? 'Cause they
Which
won't
we
even-
discussed when we did that contract, but we're like, well, no one's asking, so.
Right, so we haven't had the issue, but,
There is an actual timeline that, school groups are supposed to request for the full year by August 15th.
yeah,
And then after that, the other groups can start. So, I mean, we could say you need to
Okay.
request this by X date, whatever it is, October 15th, and then we can do our full schedule. So, I mean,
Then we
that
have
might
them
make
all
it
on the
easier.
table at once to try to,
that's not a bad idea either, right? Get them all in at once.
yeah, I mean, it couldn't hurt, but you're gonna have the same problem if they all get them in.
But at least then no one has dibs though, right? Because right
Sure,
now, if they have dibs and then someone else gets it in, then you're trying to work through, at least then we can negotiate it all out quicker. Hopefully cleaner.
I mean, if we do a contract with lacrosse, won't we have to ask to renegotiate our contract with soccer?
But that's what I was trying to figure out, because they'll have to be in agreement or,
Is it a
And
subcontract?
that's what I was
Side-
thinking. Side agreement saying, or modifications, right?
I mean, if soccer is sharing, does that alter their term?
That's what we have to look at. I was wondering,
These are all-
these are all the things, I was thinking
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. So I think when you return back next month with this conversation, we're actually gonna probably get in depth into the contract.
We can have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then if you guys want to try to put together some rough time and cost estimates to help the policy group think about that fee schedule, because I don't know enough. I'm happy to try to write a policy, but I would obviously need you guys to help understand
The actual costs, yeah.
that, or yeah, like, what is it that we're wanting people to reimburse us for?
good.
We
So,
have policy on the 15th, that might be a little fast, but for this month.
We can try. We can look over the past
Doesn't have to
history.
be
certainly.
perfect, but maybe we get us at least to be able to have a discussion of things to think
yeah,
about.
just at least, like an
A
initial
starting
conversation.
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be helpful.
Well, good luck, we already set the agenda for that day. Perfect.
That could take the whole meeting in itself.
It really does. So before we go on to the batting cage thing, I just want to go over the other use of facilities. So New Scotland Kiwanis has also put in usages for the athletic field, the VES, and middle school gym for skills day.
That's just one day, that's March 18th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they sent a follow-up today, just asking if that is available.
And I gave them a heads up that we're talking about it at a facility, so we get right back to them, so.
So what's your thoughts? Are those, is it available? Are these, you see, again, if we have master library,
Right.
we already would have had this all in.
I will have spring sport practices in the morning inside. Do we know if the drama club uses the gym for anything during the play?
The
Not that-
gym, no, not that I know of.
Not that I know of.
They only use the LGI, the hallway outside and the pack, so.
Will Kiwanis being here have any impact on the play?
How many
Oh, because
people
that's
is
the
that?
actual play weekend.
Yeah, how many people is that?
It says number of participants, 170.
Yes. That would have a major impact on our parking.
Yeah, skills day, we have to.
Why can't they use the elementary school gym for?
I think because of the number of participants, but I'm wondering if we approve to use it, you know, just communicate that they have to park in the athletic wing and come through that entrance.
Well,
Wait, what
hold on.
time are they?
it's 1 o'clock to
Yeah,
3
it's 1 to
o'clock,
3.
so we should be okay.
It
So
should
they
be cleared
should
out.
be-
What time drama come in?
There's
That's
not a
at night.
matinee, is there?
That's ours is
That's
now.
on Sunday.
It's on
three.
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, so then we're fine.
We should be all
It
right.
shouldn't
Be
be
okay.
okay.
1 to 3.
Yeah, so that should be fine. My only concern is always gonna be parking when I have to do events like that. Okay. And then their usage, Joe, is pretty much normal, right? And kind of what happened this time.
Yeah.
And especially if lacrosse isn't going to use it or is gonna use it less, there shouldn't be as many conflicts.
But it seems like New Scotland, the Kiwanis baseball it's pretty rigid in time frames. I mean, it hasn't changed, I think, in years. It's always exactly, I mean, my kids did it 12 years ago, and it's
Soccer,
exactly the
Yeah,
same,
that's,
it's
I mean,
always
it's pretty
been,
much the
you
same.
know? So it's easy to work with.
So there are two others. One is the public library is looking to do a magic show on 6/27. And originally the new entrance was gonna be being built, but we moved it back a couple days to let it work.
So the library wants to use the pack for the big kickoff. They have this like national magician that's coming in, which is really cool. And we can support it easily. We just move it over a day. So that way they can, use our facilities. Keith Rivers is going to help support it. They can get a student to help do lights. So there's really no impact on that. So I have no concerns. Joe, did you have any concerns on it?
What day is graduation?
It's early this year, is it the
It's that
23rd?
Friday, Saturday
Yeah.
before, so the
24th?
23rd, 24th.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. It's 5 days after graduation.
Yeah, last year I think it was like the 26th or something.
Yeah, I checked that already. Yeah, so it's not around graduation. It's the Tuesday after.
Next year it's like the 29th.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a late year. That whole calendar's all stretched out next year.
Then the final one is just a request to use the parking lot at the elementary school for the half marathon.
Okay.
And it's a Saturday, so there shouldn't be anything too much going on there.
When's the half marathon?
April
15th.
15th.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Race.
You're gonna have some people obviously over there for Kiwanis, but
It looks like they,
No?
well, it shouldn't conflict because it's later.
there's a
Okay.
practice, maybe, I don't know,
Right.
but.
They do practices, what do they say? April 4th through the 22nd,
Yeah.
so it may,
Yeah,
you may have a few people there, but nothing significant.
You've never seen their practices, right?
yeah,
Sometimes they can get pretty, sometimes there can be a lot of practices at once.
Well, I'm gonna guess that they're gonna park where we don't want them to park anyway, so we, wouldn't conflict too much.
well, and if the coaches know there's going to be a bunch of people parking in the parking lot, they may just say, you're not practicing until
Okay,
after
exactly,
a certain time, and deal with the headache.
Okay.
Nice to see so much going on again.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And coming back to the community and,
Mhm.
oriented school that we are, it's nice. So Joe, batting cage, update with girls softball. I know that they're still looking at it, because as a parent, I saw a email go out regarding softball boosters, and it was $14,000 that they were looking at.
So the last estimate was $17,000,
So
and the dimensions are 55 feet long, 14 feet wide, and 12 feet high, which is sizable. So when we talked about it at the last meeting, there was some concern from this group that 17,000, it's a big cost burden for folks to fundraise. I wanted to propose to this group maybe a joint venture between baseball and softball for a batting cage that we could share. you know, that would spread the fundraising burden, across a broader range of people. And in talking to Neil a little bit today, we believe that the batting cage over on the baseball field side could be affected by the capital project. So sort of, like, I'd like to have a plan for that too, because that was fundraised for and built by the community. So if it is in fact gonna be affected by that, really wanna have a plan to,
Yeah,
you know, so that, you know, we're not taking a batting cage away from that sport. I floated the idea past the softball folks, and they're very interested in doing something like that. And I think the other benefit that we could get is we could put it in a different location where it could actually fit on either side of the soccer field, equal distance between the two fields.
That's gonna be my question.
yeah.
You know, we think that'd be, you know, easier for the folks, you know, that are gonna commit to the fundraising. And I think it would, you know, help us resolve a potential issue with the baseball batting cage as well.
And the two teams seemed okay with figuring out how to share it?
Yeah,
Since their
we have an
seasons are the
indoor
same.
batting cage that we, you know, they coordinate
Okay.
the sharing of it. So it's something that we'd be able to do.
I always get nervous, and I always say that we tax our community so much, right? With fundraising, and then we do all this other stuff, just, you know, is it balanced, is it fair? Is it equal? And is it something that is sustainable for our community to endure, you know? Because what I would never want to see is, you know, 10 students on either one of those teams saying, and those families feeling like they can't support or help with it, you know? And then they feel ostracized or out of the situation. And then we don't want anyone to feel that way. So I feel like having them share, and if they can share equally, and it's an equal, and if I'm trying to make sure that it's an equal burden between the both groups, is gonna be, you know, one's gotta do 7,500, and the other one's gotta do 7,500 if it's 15. Like, making sure it's equal, because if not, you're gonna get, well, we paid more than you did. So when they come to an agreement saying they're gonna share this burden, this is how much each group is gonna raise, or they're going to raise it as a whole team. But I think having a very clear understanding of how that money is going to be allocated from each group.
Right now, it's two separate booster clubs,
That's, yeah.
because I know some sport, like lacrosse, I think it's a combined one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I could see that saying, well, I earned more than you did, so I wouldn't want that. I'd want it to be very fair when it comes down to it.
Clear understanding
Yeah.
up front, yeah. That you feel comfortable accepting a gift that size? from
The
district?
board would be the ones that, you know, I know that we accepted the donation of the
The boys.
playground, right? I mean, so that was, I
Oh,
mean, when we
yeah.
talk about donations, I mean, that was like about $250,000,
Mhm.
raised by the community. That was all raised by the community, by the way.
That's impressive.
But it's
It
something
really
we could
was.
Really
maintain, it wouldn't be a burden for us to maintain.
I don't,
You know, that's part of the reason why I thought of this is one batting cage that we take care of. You know, that's a more permanent structure
Would be easier.
rather than like the one that is out by the baseball field it's a temporary net over post that's gotta be taken down. You know, this is something that would have you know, it would be chain link, it would be more of a permanent
Okay.
structure, or at least big part of it. So it would be less maintenance. But my preference would be the maintenance be done by us. I just, you know, then we have oversight over it.
well, I think that's anything that's donated, after it's donated and accepted, that we
It
take
has to be.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Otherwise
the
it just
garden or any of the other stuff, that's
Starts to not look
ours.
good,
Right.
and then people are like, I worked so hard to get that, and now no one's maintaining it. But with this new program that Neil's gonna have, he'll put it right in there,
Mhm.
we'll be on the list.
Or if you do a regular net, you at least take it down, put it up and take it down in spring and fall. And that way it's not getting that weather, but you still have the metal uprights to hold it in place. And what we did at Bethlehem was we did our 6x6 block around it and then had stone dust in the bottom. And then we put old artificial turf on the bottom to hold the weeds down. So people weren't, that was donated from U Albany when they redid their field.
That's,
And they had asked about turf, so it
that's
wouldn't be
pretty
muddy,
much,
right?
that's
Yeah.
pretty much the same type of setup that
Mhm.
they're looking for.
So yeah, it's not that bad to maintain, especially with the asphalt turf holding down the weeds.
Well, the experts think it's okay, I mean.
Just finding the right spot to put it in so it doesn't interfere with soccer field or anything else, or too close to the edge where a plow might.
Yeah,
Put a
where
snow
they
pile on it.
originally proposed it is where the shot and disc gets thrown into, so that wouldn't be very good.
So
It's not a
shared
good
actually
spot.
gives them better real estate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's more space.
Have you talked to the boys booster
I
club
have
yet?
not talked to the boys yet.
Assuming both groups are on board.
Yeah.
We're meeting with all the groups now.
I think baseball will be invested in doing it because they're, you know, this one's hard to set up and take down. And it might, you know, interfere with the capital project, so we may not have a choice.
And the timing of this, remind me, is for this season?
This is more of a long-term
Oh, okay.
project.
All right. Anything else on those things?
No, thank you.
All right, now we go on to the project updates. So I know I talked about solar.
I gotta
Joe.
run to that bank.
Yep, so today we got an
Thank you.
update from the people who are doing the EPC. And, because it was two different solars. They're feeling that the elementary school one, they don't have the infrastructure here in the capital area for us to be able to actually do something of that large scale yet.
National Grid does.
Yeah. So there'd have to be a study. Again, that's a lot of money. And then they'd have to go to National Grid. So the solar at the elementary school may not be the best option at the moment. We're still gonna look into it. I'm still pretty hell-bent on the transportation facility, and we're building new. I don't understand why we can't lessen our carbon footprint as we're developing a transportation facility.
And the other portion of this is that National Grid will be deeply involved in making sure we have enough energy there, which should mean there's enough infrastructure to get any energy back from the solar. So there's a couple moving parts there.
So we still feel like when we meet with them regarding the grants, that at least the transportation facility is the focus. And that's been the focus all along for me, is like, what, since we're building new, how do we then at least focus on what our vision of the district's gonna look like for these new facilities? But not the best news that we got today on the elementary school.
So when you say the infrastructure, it's to sell it back?
Yes,
Yeah.
for the energy to flow back into the system the way it's supposed to, yes,
To the elementary school system or to the grid,
to the grid.
Yeah,
to the overall?
so that's one thing I realized with
Like for net
solar is,
metering.
I thought it goes right back into the building, but it doesn't, it goes back to the grid, which was new to me.
Well, if you're on the grid, I guess it
Yeah.
has to. If you are totally off grid,
Then it doesn't have to.
Then it charges your battery and then charges.
I was gonna
your
say you need
Right.
battery storage, yeah.
So not something completely feasible at this time, but not something we're gonna to completely get rid of either. So,
Especially if in 5 years, as Frank said yesterday, we redo all the roofs
Yeah.
here, you know, it's gonna be the perfect time to put solar in here and have a much
Right.
bigger impact.
and that could be a great opportunity if we don't do the elementary school with this one, we do another EPC and then we use that as offset.
Mhm.
So that could be another option for us, but we're not ending.
The solar technology is changing quickly too.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be different in just 5 years. It could look completely different.
Yeah.
Right? And they're experimenting with paints and clear stuff and pretty exciting.
Then you won't have to worry about the baseballs.
That's fantastic. I'm telling you, I have issues with that. All right. Next one, vestibules. So, really good news today. And then frustrating news on top of that. But good news is the smart schools bond that we applied for that vestibule has been approved today.
Oh.
So we actually got that information like around 3 o'clock, so that was really positive. The unfortunate aspect is we currently don't have, the architects haven't submitted anything to state ed yet for us on the vestibule here.
The facilities planning side, which is the parallel track we were supposed to be going down, so.
So we are now trying to fast track it with our architects, so they're gonna come out and relook at the plan and then try to get that into facilities planning as soon as possible. It's gonna throw us at least a couple months off, but at least we're one step forward. So
Do I dare ask why?
we're not really sure of that
Okay.
answer. Yeah,
Okay.
so,
I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus.
no,
just
so
curious.
Yeah,
we
it's
just,
curious
we,
also.
your face is priceless. We're just not sure yet. Like, we found that out today, like, that it wasn't where we thought it was.
Mhm.
So we're just trying to work through this. And again, this literally just happened like
3
2 hours.
o'clock.
Yeah. So we're walking through it and fast tracking it now, see if we can get back on to where we need to be. But this is normal. Sometimes you
Yeah.
2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we're moving there. But that's really good news about that vestibule. So hopefully within 2 years though, all the secure vestibules will be done. So yeah, that's huge for us. The elementary school has been done with the gym. So that whole facility down there with the new projector, the new screen coming down, is that finished all the way in?
It's still temporary at the moment. We just got the supplies to finish it up, hardwired into that.
And that's just the electric getting hardwired in. But they have the new long throw projector that's actually in the back. It's gigantic if you look at it. So in the back where the band is on the stage, there's this giant projector that now shoots out. So you'll never have to go to like a concert or any of the wonderful events that they do down at the elementary school and see a slideshow with this tiny little projector. It's a huge enterprise grade projector that is actually from the back end with a screen that you now push a button that comes down. And it's a one-touch electric kind of microphone. So someone come in and go, okay, I want to use the microphone, they hit it, automatically works. So you don't have to have a tech person there to set up all your mics and do all that stuff. It also has an input so you can hook up your Bluetooth speakers, your monitors, all those things. So you can play music and anything through it. So basically it's made it very simple for anyone to use in our elementary school gym, which we've never had down there. So that now has become a utilized AV place. That's a nice step forward. The one that we're doing here at the PAC, we're still waiting on parts. Hopefully this will be April, but it's still Audiovisual Corp. They're still waiting on things to still come in. So who knows when that's gonna get here? We're still waiting, but again, same idea there. There'll be a long throw projector. You'll be able to have, it'll be basically a movie screen. On the elementary school, we did do a couple neat things. We took down the old speakers that were in there and, they were nice, but they weren't really, really nice. The ones that were in the PAC, when they redid the PAC, we've had saved. So we actually had those hung up. And they came in, and the audio engineers, the things that they do with sound waves is truly amazing. And they've created it so all the sound goes in a certain way. They've all been hung perfectly 2 times. So good job to maintenance, making sure that it was done exactly up to the spec that it was. And we're good down there, so pretty exciting. That's been done and that will hopefully be done soon. And another good thing today, Jim, the $100,000 project.
Yes, we received final approval from facilities planning for the $100,000 project, which is the catwalks being run up to the roof so we can actually access the roofs near the pool area and in the PAC where we haven't been able to before. We're going to do a modified bid process because we're part of a consortium. We're allowed to, it's treated like a state contract. So we're gonna go through a very abbreviated process on that to get that in place so we can have it done by June 30, which is what's required for the $100,000 project.
Nice.
That's it.
With the big capital project, is there anything, I know you were talking about, you got a number.
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
night.
Really, so
What about, were you doing a traffic study?
the traffic study hasn't come back yet. We're still
Okay.
waiting on hearing some of the things on that, but so far, everything that we're hearing from the traffic study has been exactly as we've known already. The road is up to grade, up to where we need to be.
And even the entrance.
The entrance, we haven't heard back yet, so
Okay.
that's the one thing we're still waiting on that, so. But that, the entrance in from New Salem Road, from this road here, that isn't even our issue. We have to give that to DOT afterwards. So we don't have control of that pathway, that's them. And then they have to do a study. We have to push on that a little harder for them to be able to start working on that in a timeframe that it would be finished all at the same time. But our study that we've done, we haven't heard back on all the other issues. We did get our site design plans to our construction manager. So basically the overall site design has been done for the transportation facility in elementary school. That's now going out to our construction manager. They put it out to the estimators.
Okay.
So in 14 days, we should have a better understanding of cost
Mhm.
and then understanding what we could add or take out.
Nice.
So, because the architects will give you a basic idea, but their basic ideas are usually inflated. Most of the time.
It depends on the architect, but
That's
yes.
true.
Yep.
They've been inflated lately. So when we get the estimations done back from our construction manager, we're all gonna have a nice meeting and really try to understand exactly where we are. So, we're getting in better. The design plans for most of the buildings are set. So, in the classrooms,
You said there's a lot of back and forth with the
Yes.
cafeteria, right?
so cafeteria is good.
Okay, nice.
So the cafeteria now, you'll walk in and the kids will go to the far end where the windows are, like where the door is out to the now parking lot, won't be full parking lot in the future. And then they'll go into the cafeteria that way. The cafeteria restaurant style area setup is actually, Paul said, nicer than what they have here, so that's positive. And then there's 2 point of sale options on the outside where the kids would be, so they're removable. So they're movable back and forth. They come out, we have 2 lanes, it will really speed everything up for the kids there. We are adding to it a little bit on a flatbed, kind of flat concrete to the side of the building. That will be the outside, that will be your cooler and freezer. So extending it out a little bit further, but giving us that square footage that we need and giving them a really big freezer and walk-in cooler area.
That's gonna be a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids,
Yeah.
600 now,
Yeah.
and in a few more years, when we do project number 2 down there and add more classrooms somewhere.
Somewhere.
Who knows, right? I mean, if we continue this upward spiral, it can continue and continue and continue. 5 years ago when we started this, or 3 years ago when we started it, they were saying we we're at 1,300. 3 years later, now they're saying that we're gonna be at 1,500.
Mhm.
3 years from now, would we be
Yeah.
at 17? Who really knows? So it's a good problem to have, because most schools are dwindling,
Right,
we're still increasing.
true.
But those are the big ones. The project right now is just planning. If you wanna see something kinda neat, we'll share this. This is where I keep a lot of the fun stuff. These are, so when you do basic cabinetry, this is what we're looking for in the art and music rooms, and maybe some accents in, this is the cabinets.
Oh,
So, like instead of the wood cabinets that you just have, so for some of the art and music rooms, we want to make it a little bit more lively, a little bit more enjoyable. So instead of doing the rainbow, because you could do that, doing some of this, and also in the office area. So when you walk in, not having it just be the wood, having it be some cool colors and ideas. So making it be a little bit more inviting and welcoming. Yeah. And then this here, and then you can pass that one around. That is the storage room. So remember when we talked about doing the storage room at the elementary school, and we're taking those locker rooms because the locker rooms aren't being utilized.
Okay, in that
And,
back area.
yep, and turning
yeah.
into storage. We've actually taken, this is the girls' room. We've actually moved the kiln room to back in that area. So where the kiln, so taking it completely out of where the art room currently is and moving it, this was actually the art teacher's idea. And moving it to a back kiln area where that room that can be vented out and they can have the whole area in that area where the shower currently is.
I thought art was moving down.
It is. So they're gonna be on the first floor, on the basement floor, and this is also on the basement floor.
Oh,
So they would just
I was
roll
thinking
their
about the
cart up.
storage at the top of the stairs.
No.
That we looked at that one time.
Yep, that one's getting changed too.
Oh, that's what I
But this
thought.
is right across from the gym, where
Oh,
that
yes.
bathroom.
The shower,
Yep,
locker rooms, those locker rooms.
that's where the kiln room is gonna go. There are teachers asked if it could be moved into that area.
Mhm.
It makes more sense. We still have storage for all of our other materials. Kids Club, we talked about their storage and areas that we have for them, and an office for any of the programs that can be done in those areas. So in the cafeteria, we were able to create another office area. So they actually have an area that they'll be able to rent from us to be able to utilize as an office for Kids Club. And that's centralized to where they wanted to be, so it works out really well since they'll be using the cafeteria after school. So that does change a lot of that as well. And another thing we're talking about, and again, this isn't the site design, this is more of like the extra stuff afterwards, is as we do, the outside green space in front of the cafeteria, we are putting coverage. So that way, when the kids are coming in and they're leaving for buses, we'll have coverage for them as well.
That's nice.
So that, because right now, those poor kids are all out there in
I
the rain.
know.
So this will actually change that around as well.
And you can use the green space if it's not perfect out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
which is always a hard time when you're like in the garden,
Yeah.
and you're trying to do
Yeah.
something and.
yeah, so we're not sure exactly what the coverage is, but
Mm-hmm.
we definitely want to give coverage for kids and people when they're coming in and out of the building.
Choose room for solar.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just had to.
If they can paint it, right? Because paint can be done. So we're getting there. It's still a lot of design and conversation, really
Nothing you need from us.
no, not at this point. After we do the site designs and really understand the site designs and really understand where we are, then it'll be a little bit more conversational for us to move forward with. But right now, it's still just trying to work out what the staff want, what we want to have it look like for them, and the functionality of it.
Nice.
That's really it.
And Neil with spring sports, you're all set. You don't need any, you're an expert, so you don't need anything from Robin and I, right?
I think we're in pretty good shape right now.
Yeah, just let Trish and I know. Take care.
Just need
How
the
much
weather
more
to
can help
cooperate.
you? All right,
Need the snow to melt off. That's all.
Yeah,
do you have anything else?
I don't know.
I don't either.
All right.
Things are moving along.
Thank you, guys.
No, Jim and I were reflecting on how far we've been able to move in the past few years and, getting the vestibules done. We were actually like really happy that that's actually been able to work out, because that was a pie in the sky kind of idea that we wanted to get finished. Yeah, excited that we're finally getting there. So, cool.
Excellent.
All right, well, thank you.
All right.
And